Welcome to Millennium Counseling Center's podcast, where each week we go in depth into all things mental health, addiction recovery, and being our healthiest and happiest self. Enjoy. This week's episode will be hosted by one of the many incredible therapists here at the Millennium Counseling Center. Please enjoy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Dating in Your 20s. It's Lilly and Amelia, and today we have Sarah with us, who is another counselor here at Millennium Counseling Center. And we just want to hear all about your dating experience. I guess we'll start. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then finish off with, if you could go back to your 20s right now, would you?
Great question. It's a great way to start, girls. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. I'm like, I feel like I need to give a full speech, but I'm from San Diego, California originally. I've been in Chicago now like 11 years. Oh gosh. Or maybe almost 12. That's scary. Or 11. We'll say 11. I am 32. I'm 32, so I'm old. I'm not in my 20s anymore.
You're not old.
I'm old. And yes, I'm a therapist. I work with Lilly and Amelia. And my dating has been a journey. I think it's been such a journey to being a therapist. I know we've talked about this before as well. It's so interesting talking to other therapists who are in that dating world. And I just want to highlight this. I think not the world, but a lot of people have preconceived notions that therapists have it all together. And I definitely did not. I definitely did. And, where you have your strengths, right? Where we have our weaknesses, we're people too. So I think that was just something I kind of wanted to highlight at the beginning because, my 20s was interesting, very interesting. And would I go back to my 20s? No. No, I would not. Now, it's not to say I didn't love parts of my 20s, but there is something about okay, the one thing I miss, this is kind of funny. I think we talk about this with clients too, when there's this awareness that you get when you first start therapy, or you have that that newfound awareness for the things that you've experienced, or the whys behind the what's, peeling back the onion, all of it. I kind of miss the naivety a little bit sometimes in my 20s of knowing these things about myself or just kind of going in and launching in headfirst to a lot of things. Yeah.
I think that around, not that you're not discovering new things about yourself
Totally.
When you're in your 30s, you obviously.
Totally. Yeah.
I feel like for me, being 25 now, I feel like the actual discoveries, I'm sure I learned things about myself in my teens, but they just have more weight now. So experiencing the discoveries that actually matter for the first time. I don't know if that makes sense, but
100%.
yeah.
100%. Yeah. That resonates so much with me. And I feel 20s especially, I don't want to say it's I'm not trying to say it's carelessness, but I think for me now, I just feel a lot more grounded even when I'm experiencing and learning new things. I will say this, and we can talk about this more. The high highs and the low lows aren't as extreme as they used to feel, but that plays a lot into, that has a lot to do with my previous relationships and my dating and things I need to work on in therapy as well. An emotional standpoint, or being more emotionally regulated, and quite honestly, what I was attracting and who I was attracted to.
Yeah, something we've kind of talked about too is the dating medium right now feels I don't know if you guys have seen everyone on TikTok is oh my gosh, if you're 30, you're in season 1 of Sex and the City. People are making these trends about if you are in this stage of your life, this equates to this amazing TV show or this great movie or all these things. Your 30s are now this super romanticized era of your life. And I think it's because there's this groundedness, there's this appeal of who you are. And so you feel safer entering into relationships because it's not you're entering in the hopes to find yourself from someone else. You already kind of have that idea of I know who I am, I know what I'm looking for, and I feel really confident about that. Did you feel that shift when you turned 30? Did you kind of have more of an awareness of I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this. I think that can still happen in your 20s. I think I do think, yeah, the brain fully develops by the age of 25, right? All that. But I think it's possible to know that in your 20s. I just think 30, right? We have more experience. We've probably been through more. But I will say that it was definitely 30 when that clicked, but it was also after my last relationship. I think you kind of have this moment where you sit down and you're like, I need this is the thing about 30s though. A lot of people that we don't talk about, I feel like a lot of us are honestly like it's almost like that renewing, revisiting, and totally restarting. Like I genuinely felt like I was starting from scratch again, but it's because I really needed to like reassess what I was attracted to, why I was going for the men that I was going for. Like what drew me to them and what drew me to them actually taught me more about myself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You want to dive in? Just
Elaborate more?
Yeah, elaborate.
Well, generalizing. Okay. In my 20s, I feel like I was a little all over the place. I feel like there was a lot of insecurities that I had. I think feeling this is such an athlete thing too, which is wild, but like feeling picked and being like chosen for me was such a big deal. Like, and I didn't even really see that until like probably 28 through like 30. And I was like, okay, like I'm playing almost a game with myself, like being the best, like being the one. I saw the like being the one for other people. And that's what's so wild. I didn't even know if I wanted that guy,
Mhm.
but there was something so validating about being picked.
Yeah.
And that's the people pleaser tendency in me as well. And so it was like, yes, like I am the chosen one. I'm being picked, which meant in turn, I like shapeshifted for every relationship I was in. I completely and totally like changed. I am who I am, but like there were definitely parts of myself that I kept, kind of covered up, or
Mhm.
I really put like barricades up. So I definitely didn't let people see the real me. And I laugh at this because I'm like, when I talk about this, I'm like, dude, sometimes like, we talk about like guys, like toxic masculinity or like guys hiding their emotions. I was like, I was similar in a way. I felt like I tricked people into dating me. And it was coming from a place of like scarcity. It was coming from a place of lack. It was coming from a serious place of insecurity. And so I went through some pretty heavy breakups too. Like none of my breakups were like easy. They felt catastrophic. And I think I just want to normalize that too. Like they can feel catastrophic, because you're grieving the loss of somebody. But I think for me, I would always kind of like keep myself small, and I was really good. This is again, people pleaser therapist to me. I was really good at assessing what people needed and
Yeah.
wanted, which sounds kind of effed up, but I was really good at that. So I knew how to play that part. But what ends up always happening is I end up being like, oh my gosh, but that's like really not aligned with who I am. Like that's not me.
Yeah.
So start to clash. I start to actually show up more authentically. And they're like, what? This is not what I was in for. Okay. But I will say the biggest thing I had to work on with my therapist, and this was like this eye opener for me, was I loved going for emotionally unavailable men. Loved them. But it was because I too was emotionally unavailable. And I
Yeah.
think people don't realize that. Like if you are consistently going for men that exhibit the same qualities, traits, red flags, or genuinely don't know how to tap into their own emotions, their own authenticity, their own vulnerability, my guess, more likely than not, is that because you too are struggling with that as well. And so it was really easy for me to keep that masquerade up, but eventually the mask falls, right? And so it's like I couldn't sustain that anymore because it wasn't actually who I am. It wasn't who I was. I had feelings, I had emotions, and I needed, you need to be taken care of I need to take care of myself, but you need to be taken care of to a degree. You need to have healthy communication. And I just like put up a facade for so long until I recognized, no, wait, like I am vulnerable, like I am quirky. I have all of these qualities that are beautiful qualities, but I'm not sharing or expressing. And these guys are like, no, I don't want that. I don't want
Yeah.
that. So it
Yeah,
ended,
I feel like that's something that like I'm learning now in my 20s. Like, and from the other vantage point, it's because not necessarily emotional unavailability, but like my biggest heartbreak was from someone who had known me my whole life. And so he did know everything about me and still didn't choose me. And I was like, wait a second. Okay, so I'll just be who everyone else wants me to be, and I'll fit in these like nooks and crannies of their brains that will attract them to me and will make them see like I can be this girl and I'll do this and I'll like this thing and I'll watch this movie that I don't actually want to watch and talk about it because I want you to like me. But I'm not going to be myself because I tried that once before and it didn't work. And I'm actually seeing that with a lot of my clients now in their 30s, kind of this rediscovering of oneself and figuring out like, I've put on a mask for so long. I don't actually know what I'm attracted to or what I want because it's like when someone picks me, I'm just going to immediately become a chameleon and become the person they are dreaming I will be one day.
hmm
I think is so great about like having Sarah on the podcast too, and then like we've had Oren on as well. It's Amelia and I chatting, and we're like in the thick of it. We're both 25, like we're doing the damn thing, and it's nice to hear what you're saying, and you're putting like more to it. I don't know if we're necessarily like beating around the bush, but like the two words that you used, Sarah, in your little spiel was like insecurities and people pleasing. And like, I feel like in the recent episodes, Amelia and I haven't necessarily like picked those things out because like we maybe subconsciously are like doing that right now.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have you come on and like actually put a name to those things. 'Cause I feel like that would really like, I don't know, listen, like I feel like having that language and using that language in recent episodes that we've had would be helpful. But then again, we're just not like, we're not there yet. We're in it. Like we haven't had that realization yet. But I think that's awesome. And we're so happy to have you on for those reasons.
Yeah.
You're so cute. Wait, I love that you said that. That makes me feel good. But also, it's so interesting though. It's so hard. One, you don't have to force something. I always tell people, don't force a feeling. Also, you don't know what you don't know. All right. And I think but it's so interesting at this point in my life, I'm so secure to talk about, I'm secure enough, right? And I feel really secure to talk about those insecurities or to talk about the
Yeah.
fact that I'm unavailable, to talk about the fact that I wanted to be picked. Like, dang, like I mean, but it's such a real experience and it's so visceral. And at that time, like there might be some knowledge and awareness. There might be the things coming up, but like, can I accept that? No. I was not ready to
Yeah.
do that. I was not ready to heal from that. And I think the last relationship really, really highlighted like for me what I kind of had this moment where I was like, what am I doing?
Mm.
What am I doing? Is this what I want for my life? Is this what I want for myself? Is this what I want for my future? And I'm the type who like I would dive in headfirst. I dive in headfirst to literally everything that I do. I'm like, let's just see how it goes, trial and error. I'm like I will say I'm pretty fearless when it comes to that. But it comes with I was like, I do need to be a little more grounded in my approach here and really do
Mhm.
some internal work before, I jump into the next thing. And so I will say this. I went through after that, my last relationship, not the one I'm in now, but after the last relationship, I completely, and I think everybody has a period of going through this, or maybe they need this. Some people probably haven't done this, but I just completely was like, I need to reroute my life a little bit.
Mhm.
And I did not go on any dates, you guys. Like, there was about a year. Oh no, I went on, I think it was one date and we went and got pizza and I wouldn't even consider it a date. Okay. For a solid year, I was like, wow, we are real single. She is real, real single. But it was the first time where I wasn't chasing something. I
Mm.
wasn't chasing validation. I wasn't chasing these false expectations. I wasn't chasing some void that I was trying to fill within myself. I really just sat with myself. I focused on myself. I really went through that experience of like just like a journey seriously back to like self-love and harmony and peace and tapped into my spirituality, all of it. And I started to recognize like, oh my gosh, like what I have been giving out into the world was also coming right back. So like,
Mm.
I was like, but do I want this? So I kind of had to like sidestep or like pivot, reverse all of it and really ask myself, like, what do I want? And I wanted something that was like very deep and very genuine and somebody who was very kind and loving and somebody who had already done the work. And I think that's a hard thing as a therapist too, is knowing that and being like, okay, people laugh, but my non-negotiables now are if you do not believe in self-development or self-growth, I don't want you.
Wait, I want to ask a question about that because I feel like we have these. I don't really love the term like green flags, red flags, like all these things that we look for are like deal breakers in a person. But we do have these things that we like inherently look for and want. And a lot of people talk about like that list either shrinks when you get to your 30s because you're like, I hate the word desperate, but like you're wanting it so bad, or it gets so much longer because you've like redefined your worth. What were some things that you shifted from like your 20s wanting to your 30s wanting?
Yeah, I would my
Great
20s.
question, Amelia.
That's a really good question. I was hyperfixated. I think a lot of us are. I mean, it's true. It kind of sounds vain, but like I was all into the looks. Body typography was huge for me. It was all material. It was all BS. It was all, stuff on the outside. I think I wanted in my 20s, I thought it was always supposed to be just like, so it is now. How do I put this? It is now, but like just so like fun and loose and carefree. And the reality though is I have that now, but in a way that is so much healthier. And it's like, I don't need, it's another thing I really could go on and on about this, but I don't need to get drunk to have those experiences with that guy or that partner,
Mhm.
right? Like I can be sober and still be and experience this childlike sense of self with my partner now. Now,
That's a huge thing that we could go talk about and like drinking and dating in your 20s. Mark
oh,
that for our next podcast.
yes, yes, that's a whole can of worms. That's a whole can of worms because there were so many relationships I entered into, and I was like, was I just like drunk the whole time? And quite honestly, I probably was.
Mhm.
I probably was. But that's just real. I think that's the reality of it too. And you think it's like, I had this idea that it was supposed to be like this like glitterati experience. And I'm like, where did I get that from? I don't always know. I can't always place that, but none of it. It's just when you come back home to yourself, everything changes. So like none of that felt authentic to my being. I will say now the biggest thing, and this is like the biggest thing I was looking for is like I don't want to be with somebody, and I had to work on this myself, that I need to fix. I was such a
Mhm.
fixer, but they never knew that I like hid it, I hid it until I was like, okay, we're gonna change this, and we're gonna tweak this about you once I had them. It was wild. But no, I don't want to fix. I want to love somebody unconditionally for who they are. But I will say, like, this idea of emotional availability, somebody who believes in self growth, self development, because the reality of that is even if it doesn't match their external at this current moment, it will match their external one day. And I want to say that because if somebody is on that journey and they're like, I'm in therapy or I'm working on myself and they don't this is like, you have to be in therapy. But if the minute I ask a guy and they're not open to it and I'm also a therapist, we done. We out. We out. It's just, I can't. I
Mhm.
literally can't because I'm dishonoring myself. I'm
Mhm.
dishonoring myself. And so I think for me, it was like, okay, but like, you think, of course, yeah, I want them to have like a stable job and a career, but like, what's wild is like, that wasn't the end all be all for me. For me, it was like, if you are somebody who wants to grow as a human being, you're always going to be on that like journey. And I think it's such a beautiful one too, because like your paths are going to continue to like
Mhm.
kind of go like this. And somebody who's secure with themselves, who knows what they want and is actually looking for a serious commitment and partnership.
Yeah.
And then I found that person. So yeah, it's
Aw.
been great.
I wanted to ask and go back a little bit because you kind of like had this moment where you were like, what do like you had to slow down enough to literally be like, what do I want? Or like, what am I doing? that moment, I will be honest, I like fear that moment tremendously because it's just like you're doing life, you're doing your 20s. And then I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I do feel like there's like a late 20s, early 30s of like, what the hell have I just been doing? And like to like hear that and like maybe that's not coming from me, maybe it is, I don't know, but like when you said that you had that, I literally was like, holy shit, like when is that going to happen to me? Like what is that? Is that going to happen to me? Like I don't know, just like normalize or validate like how scary that like feeling and realization was too. It's not like, oh, I was walking on the street and I decided I needed to reroute my life. Like
Yeah.
that's a long maybe years of finally feeling comfortable to be like, I need to pull back and, like, ask some serious questions about my life.
Yes, I think it's daunting when you have that happen. And I will say this, and I also want to normalize, like, everybody's experience with that, those moments, those, like, kind of slowing down, restarting. It might not be in a relationship, it could be in
Yeah.
any aspect of their life. I think no matter what, it's still challenging to, like, to face and experience.
Yeah.
I sometimes think I mean, this is 30s, right? Like, I'll tell you, 30s is a lot about recognizing that, like, this is gonna get deep, but I think the biggest thing is you kind of start to look at your life and you're like, I'm gonna die one day." I know that's, like, cryptic, but
Mhm.
that hit me kind of like, what am I like, what have I been doing? Like, what do I want to do? And it's not even this whole, like, a legacy I leave behind, but it's like, this is my life. My life. I'm an active participant in my life, and
Mhm.
I was choosing a life that was either devaluing me or I was devaluing myself. And
Mhm.
that was, like, a really hard thing for me, and nothing that I do is ever, so I just laugh at myself. My dad even used to tell me this. He's like, I am not somebody, and that's what I'm trying to say. Not everybody is like this. It comes in different ways. It comes, sometimes it'll be in a more grounded state, right? For me, that's not how I learn. My learning is trial by fire. My learning is death. Let's just destroy it all and rebirth.
Mhm.
Okay. I talk like, let's just transform. Let's just like destroy everything we've sort of built that's been built on false promises and lies to myself. All right.
Mhm.
And let's just reroute. And I think that's intense, but it was super rewarding for me because it'll sit on you. It'll keep tapping you until you finally listen to that inner voice that's like, is this is that me, or is this just whole false sense of self I've created?
Well, I was gonna
So
say, I wanna validate you first. Like, I wanna say it's okay to be fearful of that, and I think, like, anyone else who's listening who feels that way, like, your 20s, I just did a podcast with Hannah Stutz, and she's my little, and she was talking about, like, I have this great career and I love my job, but, like, my 20s suck, like, I feel so, like, overwhelmed, no one has it figured out, and I think that moment where you start to admit you don't have it figured out is when that kind of, like, rebirth is happening. That's scary. Like, no one wants to admit they don't have it figured out. No one wants to admit that they don't know what path they're on. No one wants to admit that they have to, like, reanalyze when everything in your life is starting for a moment to feel settled after undergrad or grad school, or you finally get a job, or you finally get into a nice relationship. And then you're like, wait, but there's more. Like, there's more for me to know about myself. You're allowed to be fearful of that. I'm scared of that. Like, I'm scared shitless. I don't want to do it. But like, I know it's something that has to happen.
station, my reframe, and I like see myself. I'm like regulating myself.
Did I trigger you guys? I am so
No, no,
sorry.
but it's really like needed because I think it's like I mean, I think a lot of people listening probably have similar fears of like this, but I want to like also pull in a little gratitude that like we get to that position and we like have that rebirth or have those thoughts because of everything that we have gone through and
Mm.
because of every experience. Like I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, now that I've like done my rebirth, like none of that other stuff mattered or had value or was anything when in reality, like, again, I'm very all or nothing, as we know. But like all of those things got you to that point, and like all of those previous choices led you to where you are now to have this feeling of wanting to slow down and kind of reflect and maybe relearn and all of these things. So I think it's also like, as much as that may happen late 20s, early 30s, everything leading up to that moment like mattered and played a role and has an impact on you. It's just, I think, slowing down to realize like, what was that impact? What did I like about it? What did I not like about it? And what do I want to like stay with? And what do I want to leave behind?
100%. I love that. You guys are like, this is such a validating podcast. Oh my gosh. Because you really do need that validation. And oh my gosh, there's so much we could talk about. Something just came up for me when I'm thinking of validation too. I also think about this. Okay. We all have that friend where you're like, oh my gosh, dump his ass. Like dump it. Dump, and I think dump, like what, like, Sarah, what are you doing? And I was that friend. I was the friend who wasn't, they were like, Sarah, like, what are you doing? And the truth is, like, love the input, needed the input from friends. I'm somebody who can actually take feedback, which is hard, probably the athlete, but like, but it's still really hard to hear. And the reality is, like, even if I took all the feedback, like, doesn't matter because I have to be the one to figure it out on my own. So it's like, hold grace for yourself if you're that person or you're in a relationship where you're like, I know nobody likes this person that I'm with, or like, they're kind of seeing this other side of you that they're like, this is not all of you. Or, there's flags and people notice it, but it's like, give yourself grace because you're figuring it out. We are our own, thoughts, feelings, body. Like, we have to be the one to figure it out. Take the feedback. Yeah, be open to hearing it and receiving it, but also like recognize too, like it's your path, it's your journey. And I fully believe that people, like, they will get there. Like if they can open themselves up enough to pain, which is really hard, and you will not die from pain. You will not die from pain. You will become free from it. You will. Like, and so that's the thing. No matter what happens at these pivotal points, there is always, like, it's like, the diamonds are created under pressure. Like, that's what happens. Like, you literally, when you rebirth or all of that, or when you learn from an experience, you come out a completely different person, but so freeing, so light, so you. And I don't want you guys to be afraid of it. It can feel really scary, but it's really powerful. And I just also want to highlight that there's a lot of power with that too, and feeling a lot of this like internal sense of self and safety and security within yourself. Yeah.
Wow. We really just sing deep girlies on a podcast.
We went so deep. I love it.
I went off, you guys.
Oh, I mean, I feel like we definitely need to welcome you back. We have so much more that we can chat about. Honestly, maybe even like, I don't even know. All of this does touch into dating a little bit, but just like growing and evolving as humans. So we're so happy we have you, Sarah.
And I love you,
Thank you
girls.
so much for coming on. We just really needed this.
Man, I love you guys. This was great. I think what you guys are doing is incredible. I think you're normalizing so much for 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds of all ages. Because I'm laughing, but I'm like, this is what the people need. Like, the people need this because dating right now is it's challenging. I see it with my clients too. And I'm like, oh man. It's challenging. So I think what you're doing, and you're just normalizing, you're bringing people in, you're talking about things that might feel kind of taboo, but real life experiences. And you guys are also in your 20s, but it's it's fun too. Like, don't forget to live. Don't forget to experience it all. That's the point. That's literally the point.
Full stop, period. That was amazing.
Yay.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.